That completes our coverage of list comprehensions, and here is a summary. So list comprehensions are special syntax for creating lists with for loops. List comprehensions do not add any extra functionality. In fact, you can do all of their functionality with a normal for loop and just the append list method, but they do help with making code more elegant, shorter, and readable. Although if they are too complex, then you might want to just use the normal way of creating lists with for loops. So the generic syntax is as follows. There are two pieces. There is a for loop piece, which comes at the end. And then there is an expression part. That's what actually happens for each iteration. So list comprehensions, again, can only be used when there is a single line of code, main line of code. And the single main line of code comes on the left, and then the for loop part comes on the right. So here is an example. The for loop part is over here where we are iterating through the integers 0 through 9. And then the expression part is over here on the left. We are just simply squaring it. All right, here's another example where we are iterating assumably through a list of strings. Let's say words is a list of strings. Word will be one of those strings. And then the expression part is we're just getting the length of the word as an integer. Then we looked at conditional list comprehensions. This is where you can filter through some of the items in this iterable, and the generic syntax is as follows. You have this condition that is to the right of the for loop. So this is where you have an if statement over here. And here's an example over here. So it's the same as this one, but there's this condition added. If I divided by 2 has a remainder of 0. So this means if it's an even number, then do this operation over here. So this is a filter. If it doesn't pass this filter, then it does not continue and there's nothing for that iteration. Here's another example of a conditional list comprehension. And here's the for loop right here. So again, we're just rewriting this one sort of, but the filter is if the length of the word is greater than 3. So we looked at this example, and if it's greater than 3, then we'll just return the word. There'll be no real expression. It'll just be, the word. So act literally as a filter. All right. The ternary operator can be used inside of a list comprehension as the expression component. So here is a ternary operation over here. So this is if you want to make your list comprehensions a little bit more complex. This is where you want to have a different outcome based on the current value of the item in your iterable. So here we will square the integer if it is even, otherwise we will cube it. Now then we talked about, if your list comprehension is too complex, you might want to just use the normal ways of iterating through a loop and then using the append method of the list method. Lastly, we looked at the nested list comprehensions. So this is where you have nested for loops, and you just put the inner for loop to the right of the original for loop for your list comprehension. So no colons, just keep writing your for loops in succession to the right, and then you can have a normal expression over here on the left. All right, so that is a summary of the list comprehensions module.